first of all, hello and nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to do this interview. How are you doing and how have you been during this crazy period that's everyone's been through?
Uh, I'm doing good, but yeah, I took a long vacation in March 2020 from everything, just laying on the couch, being fat and eating and watching TV. And then, of course, I started mixing the new Hypocrisy after that. So, because the album was made between 2018 and 19, both written and recorded between these two times. So, and then I was busy going on tour with Hypocrisy and also with Lindemann. So after that, it was just more or less like, okay, everything is closed. Good, time to have a vacation. So
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that Worship was already finalized in 2018, 2019. How has it been
yeah,
for you to sit on this record this long? It's been 2 years almost, I guess.
I know, and it's been weird how you see with lyrics now that I wrote like 3 years ago, and I was like, holy shit. It's kind of scary, to be honest, how you see how things are nowadays. And I really never wanted to be political, but now the lyrics becomes very political, and it's kind of scares me, you know.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my questions because I thought it was pretty interested how much conversation there was when you released Chemical Whore, and that there's a lot of misinterpretations for that song as well regarding the
Yeah,
anti-vaxxers and such. Now, what I
yeah,
was wondering, do you feel like a good song sparks conversation like that, or how does it usually go for you?
yeah. I think so. If you will look back in past time, everybody liked and accepted what you was writing. There was or releasing. I mean, there was never any tension. But now, well, suddenly there's a lot of tension. Same with the Dead World, where we've got all these zombies running around, and I'm singing that we are getting divided by left and right and all that shit. And that was, I think, that song. I also wrote lyrics in 2018 or something. But it's things I've been seeing all the time. It's either you're a left person or you're a right person. There's nothing in between, you know. Especially in America. In Europe, you have all these. Um, different labors. You know, you have the left, and then you have the socialism, and then you have the democracies, and then you have the more right stuff, and it goes like that. But in America, it's either left or it's right. So when you being called like a right wing in Europe, then you're a Nazi. You know, in America, it means that you're Republican, kind of. You know, so
Yeah.
it's kind of screwed up. But anyhow, these were my thoughts, what I, you know, been collecting over my years of existing on the earth and watching a lot of stuff. And so I just wrote it like that. And it's as simple as that.
You mentioned that these stuff are things you wrote down in your years of existence, but I know that as a person, you're also very interested in conspiracy theories. And I
Yeah.
think this whole pandemic, for me at least, has been proven that there's more conspiracy theories out there, much more than we may even realize. Do you think there's been kind of a change in attitude considering that lately, or?
I think people started to open their eyes, and for good and for bad, with the internet, you get a lot of information, you get a lot of disinformation, you know, and you also get a lot of good information. But sometimes you go, is it really like that, or is it disinformation? So it becomes a really ugly circle of wondering about things because you get so much information on the net, both good and bads, of course. So what I always did, I follow my heart and follow my brain and watch those who are anti this or whatever, and those who are pre these and that things, and you draw your line somewhere in the middle. And uh, I mean, everybody has to think for themselves. You can't just be fed with information on the net because it'll drive you crazy. You don't know anything anymore. You don't know where you stand anymore. you have to follow your heart, what you think is right and wrong, I think.
Do you feel like it's kind of more difficult for you to separate yourself from your artistry in a way that people maybe think that whatever you're right are your beliefs as well?
I think a lot of stuff that I write is my belief, for sure. Some are I'm writing in a what's it called, third person or whatever, like I'm singing about someone else, but it's actually that guy who's singing. Or so sometimes I make stories and it's not based on facts or anything. It's just a cool story. And sometimes I sing about things that pisses me off, that I think is wrong, and that's only my thinking. And I'm not trying to push it down anybody's throat. It's a story together with music, and it's like a book, you know.
Now, one of the things that I really liked on this record is actually your vocal performance, and I think a lot of people realize that as well on the singles. Like it sounds a little bit like old school Hypocrisy, but there's still something modern in it. But it's like with every record, you're kind of still like outdoing yourself or something like that. Do you feel like you did anything different during the recording sessions, or?
Not really. What I do is trying for myself to push myself to make myself more interesting, because I can't listen to myself repeating myself all the time. Of course, I have a certain style when I sing. I like to keep that as well, with my high pitched screams or whatever. Uh, but I also want to make it more interesting for me to hear. And if it's more interesting for me to hear, maybe it's easier to convince other people as well that it's more interesting, if you know what I mean. So I just try to refine myself all the time, and I'm very picky and very critical when it comes to things I do. I have not good self-confidence on what I do, and I never did, and I probably never will. And maybe that keeps me on my toes and keeps me sharp to not try to pass half good shit into an album. I mean, you have good days and you have bad days. Sometimes you can't perform better than you did, and you have to accept it. Sometimes you have days where there's no, sky's the limit when you start singing and stuff like that. The only thing I don't really want to improve is my skills of playing guitar, because I'm too lazy to sit and practice. I never did. I actually started guitar by writing music, and it was going very slow, and but for me it's I like to keep it simple and easy and in your face. I admire musicians that can really shred on their instrument, whether it's a bass or guitar or drums. I really admire them, and I really listen to a lot of that. But for me to sit and practice that stuff, I don't think so. I'm comfortable with what I'm able to write in that perspective, because it won't change my style of writing, I would say.
Now, maybe somehow related, but you're also a producer. I was wondering, do you feel like it's more difficult working on your own stuff than while working on other artists' albums?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually a lot easier to work with other bands as a producer, because when you work on your own thing, first you have to write it, then you have to organize it, and you have to perform it, and then you have to mix it, and so on and so on and so on. But as a producer, you come in to a band, help them make the best out of the song, first of all. I mean, you have some kind of form there, like a frame, or actually a done song. Sometimes you go, maybe you should just cut it to 2 times. 4 times it feels like you getting bored, and things like that. Or maybe you should take this chord here and this and that. That's a piece of cake, because it's just a matter of taste, what I would like. And so that's how you try to get the songs better for the bands that you produce. And also you try to bring out the best out of each and every musician as they put on their instrument on there. So that is easy. You go with what you would like to hear and follow your heart, and try to convince the musicians. Sometimes musicians and bands has a different point of view, and then you have to work with that. I never been a dictator in the studio and say, no, it's got to be like this. There are a lot of weird stories from other bands with other producers that really are strict and so on. But I like to maybe it's for the better, but I don't know. But I'm not that kind of guy, that goes in and just shove my fist in the table and say, hey, I am the boss. Now you do like I do. Never been, never will.
Is there something production-wise, a specific thing you did with this album to make it sound the way you did, or something?
Yeah, as always, you try to get the best sound of every instrument. That is never an issue for me, but the issue is to get the levels right. So it was good to take a break when everything was recorded and done, and take a break for half a year and come back and then start setting all the levels for guitars, drums, and so on. But also, I wanted to be warm. I wanted to feel like analog feeling to it. I didn't want this, as I call them, laptop productions, that everybody has the same snare sound or bass drum or the same plug-in on the guitar sound kind of thing. I wanted it to be more like old school and feel more warmness to it, more big, more powerful, because it's also depends what kind of music you play. If you play a little bit newer metal kind of things, sure, you need to adapt your sound after that as well. But for me, I just want you, when you listen to the album in your headphones, you want to dream away and you want to see a picture of what you hear. And that is more important to me. I want to have a lot of balls in it. I mean, low ends. I want to have crystal clear sound. I want people to hear what I sing. I don't want them to open the booklet and look for the lyrics. What the hell is he singing here or there? I want it to be simple, and it's hard to make it simple, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I heard in a couple of interviews that you had an idea and you had drawn the cover art on a napkin.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, do you feel like having the cover art ready before the music kind of influenced the music as well?
A little bit. I mean, especially on the title song, Worship. After I was done sending away my little napkin, pictures of my little napkin to Blake Armstrong, and I saw the cover, then I could just imagine the story about it. And that's a little bit how I wrote the lyrics as well, because I wanted it to be like in that way. They're coming back, and what do you mean coming back? Well, they planted us here, and so on. So for me, it was kind of a more amplifier for my visions of the song. So it was easier to write the lyrics. The lyrics I kept super basic this time, not to be stupidly, dumb, numbed, explained, but just to keep it very simple words for simple meanings. I mean, I see a lot of bands, it's like they go in dictionary. What can I say instead of car to make it more complicated, and things like that. I just wanted to be simple, straight to the point, what I wanted to say. Nothing around the bush or anything like that. So, yeah, it was great to have a lot of things done before actually the album was done. Because of now, it's pure vacation to sit and talk with people, do interviews and stuff like that. Because usually in the past, over the last 28 years, it's like you're done with the album. You're like, that's nice. And then the record company comes. Do you have any pictures? No. Do you have a cover? No. Do you have a video? No. So it's like, oh, fuck. You got to keep on going. So we took our time with everything. We kind of did everything a little bit backwards. I mean, of course, we had 3 or 4 songs done by the time we did the first video that will come out on the release date. And I think in September 2019, we did Chemical Horror. And so the album wasn't really done by that time. So it was good to do it, and had to trust ourselves. Is this the best song to do a video on or not? So, um, but I guess people enjoyed Chemical War.
Yeah.
So
Now, speaking about the videos, you mentioned, is this the best song to do a video of? But what is the process there usually? Is it, do you guys come up with ideas for each song, or how does it go?
actually, for example, Chemical Horror was made by a friend of my manager, just by coincidence. Like she said, like, why don't you try something new? You know, not do the same stuff that you've always been doing. And I think she was right. Apart from maybe Eraser, that's a really cool video that we did, and we spent a lot of money on that at that time because you were filming on 35 millimeters and things like that. So, but do something different. And I have this girl in St. Petersburg that's really have good visions and stuff, and she needs a guinea pig for it, you know. And I gave the lyrics and the song, and that was actually her vision of what I was singing about, kind of. So in the end, it's sometimes it's good to trust other people do things for you. So
Yeah.
I'm happy we went somewhere else and got a little bit different from the normal standing up upside down and just playing and so on. So yeah, and then next video, that world is also totally different. It's about zombies, and they did it only like in a few shots. First, they wanted to do one shot through the whole video with all the actors and things like that, but in the end, it was too complicated because they did everything in like 14 hours, I think, makeup and filming and telling how to do this, because there was some fighting, some blood and things. So I think they did it in like 5-6 cuts or something like that. So I think it was great, and it's different. People talk about it.
Yeah, well, let's see. I'm curious to see it. Now, going back to Chemical Horror, as I understood it, it's about addictive prescription drugs.
Yeah.
And a big pharma, you know. But being a musician, I guess, or an artist in general, I guess, you know, at least some people who have suffered from an addiction like that. But do you feel that gave you sort of an extra push to write a song about that topic?
Yeah, definitely. I think I have a lot of friends that's been on pills, so to speak, prescription pills, while they really didn't need to, and then they start mixing it with alcohol. They started mixing it with other things, and it's uh, some of them are dead now, and some of them are still not doing good. So I figure I would write a song about that. I'm not just saying that pills are bad. That's not the point, because pills also saves lives. So don't get me wrong. But this there's a lot of depression things that could actually maybe be solved by going to somebody and talk about the problems instead of hiding in the pills and things. So it's, like I said, it's not about the pill in general. It's about certain cases of people, and sometimes doctors are very lazy. They just push them on some pills, and then they don't have to worry about them for a while until they want new pills.
Yeah.
And so on. So it was more in that kind of perspective. And yeah, of course, people are going to react today when you release it and think it's an anti-vaccine song, which, yeah, we can all prove that it was written a long time before the pandemic. So no biggie.
Yeah. Personally, one of my favorite tracks of the album is Another Day. Is there anything you can tell about that song?
Yeah, it's about us all struggling all day long with things, and you get kicked in the butt every day, and you try to do your best, and you still get kicked in your ass. So it's maybe it's a little bit about try to rise from the bullshit a little bit, even though everything I'm singing on there is about how negative shit can be all the time.
Yeah, I also understood that you wrote That World together with your son. Now, what I'm interested in is how your dynamics usually are when you write music together, because I guess it's very different than working with you know, a colleague musician, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny. We kind of have the same music style, me and my son, and it's nothing I ever forced him to listen to anything that I like. It really came automatically. I never forced him to play any instrument. He did it by himself. But I guess since he's been around a lot of bands, musicians in the studio and things like that, he picked up one thing or another since he could crawl. So, I mean, we did this father and son thing 2017 where we were just sitting and writing songs together. And this is one of the songs that he wrote. And we did like 10 or 11 songs, but we just recorded them as demos. So it was no big deal without vocals or any lyrics or anything like that. And I always loved that song. So I told him, like, let me use that for Hypocrisy, because I think people will like it. And he's like, sure, no problem. So I wrote lyrics for it. And to make it simple, he wrote also on End of Disclosure, the last album. Me and him, we wrote, which one was that? Soldier of Fortune. We wrote that one together. And he was like 14 or 15 or something like that. And of course, he wrote Matematik with Lindemann himself. So he's good on a lot of things. And he's a great fucking drummer.
Do you feel like that's something you will do more and more in the future, writing together?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna help me now write some Pain songs, and we're gonna see where that's gonna go, because he's a lot into electronic. He writes a lot of stuff himself, you know, and it could be interesting. You know, it's always good to have some new blood in there.
Now I noticed that you were able to play 2 shows, I think, during summer. How was it for you to go back to the stage with Hypocrisy after 2 years?
Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't 2 years. It was 1.5 or 1.9 months or something like that. It was kind of scary in a way. Before we had the chance to meet up and practice once, and then go to the shows. But before that, it was like, oh shit, will I remember the lyric? Will I remember the riffs? So I was actually sitting for 2 weeks, once a day. I was running through the set list just to get back. And also, you know, you have to get the picking back, because you get stiff as fuck if you don't do anything. So it was very slow in the beginning, and it's like, oh god, I can never do this. And you pick up speed as you go. So I guess it went good. I think it was one of the more tighter sets we've done, because all of us were on alert.
Yeah. Well, speaking of shows, it's a bit of a tricky question because of the future, but are you basically going to wait out and see a little bit and maybe write some Pain music or something like that instead of playing shows, or are you planning to take this album to the road very soon?
Well, unfortunately, we can't take it very soon, but we have tours coming up. Yes, we do. I mean, unfortunately, we can't take it because everything is booked now. As soon as they open, there's like one band playing, and you have like 3 or 4 other bands standing in queue in case he doesn't make it or whatever. So it's going to be pretty hectic for all the venue owners and so on. So what we have that we're going to go out with soon is American tour before the summer. And we have a European tour after the summer. And all this will come out very soon, I think. And of course, in the summer, we have some festivals that we're going to do. Not too many, because most of these festivals are booked since 2020. And they just moved it to 21, and now they move it to 22. So, but we're ready to go.
Sure. Yeah, I guess it must be a little bit annoying that it's like one big puzzle nowadays, even more than usual.
Yeah, it is. And I see a lot of festivals. They're in nightmares too, because they have bookings from the past, and maybe they want to get some new bands in there, but they can't because it's full, and so on. So yeah, it's a little dilemma for everybody. But let's get this 2022 going, and I'm sure everybody's going to do the best. And unfortunately, I'm not a really optimistic guy when it comes to this COVID thing. I think there will be a couple of peaks again, and close down here and close down there, unfortunately. And that's how it is. I don't know when it's ever gonna pan out. I don't know if it ever will pan out, but maybe we can be more immune to it so it's not so how to say deadly, or you know what I mean. So it's doesn't affect you so bad that you get normal immunity to it. Everybody knows I'm really skeptic to vaccine and stuff like that. You know, especially when they try to force it on you, because if you start forcing that, then I become the opposite. You know, but the good part with me, I'm not social. I live in the woods, so for me, I'm not out there breathing on people. The only time I go out is when I go to my studio, or if I go to the local grocery store where there's 4 people maximum every time I'm there shopping. So I'm not there to risk anything. And even people who do get the vaccine, they still spread the disease. So I don't see the difference, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it scares me when they start going down in ages on kids, and pushing in things that they haven't really tried. You know, and the only thing they're trying is to get it approved in a very hurry, and that scares me as well. But this is how it is right now, and this is how we're gonna have to take it. As long as I'm not out, I'm not gonna vaccinate myself, but I'm gonna have to because I'm gonna go on tour. So yeah, that's the way it is nowadays. So I stay away from people until I go on tour, and then chup chup, and let's see if I survive it.
Sounds at least like a little bit of a nice life to be able to stay away from people and hide.
Yeah, in my village, there's 20 people living, you know, and our houses are very far from each other. So I see no problem not being vaccinated right now.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I guess our time is kind of up. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with people who will be watching this?
Yeah, I hope everybody's gonna enjoy the album, and I hope people are gonna come out to the shows. We're gonna release the dates very soon, and the album will be out in 2 weeks. So enjoy. First one in almost 9 years. So who knows when the next one is gonna be? I mean, 8 years. I'm 59 then. I don't know. Or maybe in a few years, or maybe never again. I don't know. But I have a great life and be safe. That's what the only thing I can say.